Welcome back, everyone. We're going hardcore today with a full coverage foundation routine. I know this video was supposed to be answering your assumptions about me, but I still have to shoot that video, so give me a little time for that. I also wanted to say just a big thank you to everybody for such sweet messages about my skincare brand launch. I was so nervous announcing that, and just to hear all the encouraging messages warmed my heart so much and made me that much more excited for this process. So thank you so much. You guys really just made me so happy. So thank you for that. Now for this look, I just wanted to do an updated foundation routine, but the full coverage edition. I'll explain why throughout the video. Full coverage is important to know how to do. And these are the products that I just really like right now. I've been using them a lot. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say. Nope. All right, let's do this. Okay, so I'm having a really bad hair day. So we're just gonna try to tuck this behind the ears and hope for the best. So for a full coverage look, you absolutely want to start with some sort of base, whatever kind of primer you like. I personally love this primer by Smith & Colt. It's their Radiance Boosting Primer. I use this for lighter wear products too, but it's just very lightweight and hydrating. This also doubles as a taming cream for flyaways. So now for the most important part of a full coverage look, the foundation. So I did a lot of searching to find just the right product that isn't too high of a price point, that generally covers most of what people are looking for in a makeup product. And Smashbox has kind of always come through with really solid products. I like their, what's the other one called? The water skin, something like that. It's the other version, the Studio Skin, that's more of a sort of dewy, lightweight daytime foundation. This is a full coverage foundation. I'm just making up names for their products. I don't know if the word water was in there. So the color I'm using is 3.05. Immediately when you pump it out, you could tell it's like thick. It's a thick product. But the wear is pretty light. Like, it's not a super heavy wear product. It just covers really well. So with this, I'm actually gonna go dot it over my whole face. And hope to God it's a good match for my complexion. So I'm gonna take this dual fiber brush and just buff this into my skin. The one thing I will say about this foundation that isn't my favorite is their color range is pretty much, you know, either warm or cool. There really isn't an olive option in there, like a good match for olive. But this looks kind of yellow at first when it goes on. But when I tested it, it goes on like this, and it kind of, I don't know if it oxidizes that quickly, but it kind of just settles into a less yellow tone in like a minute. Even when a product says neutral, like for example, the one critique I have about this is in their neutral range. It's not so much neutral as it is kind of pink. So really your options are more of that warmer yellow orange if you have that golden tan, or pink. Moving on to concealer, I'm using the Dose of Colors Meet Your Hue concealer in the number 16. So for full coverage look, I'm gonna go a little heavier. And here's why even someone like me who's not really into heavy makeup, here's why even I suggest full coverage when you're going out at night, especially if you're gonna be photographed. You can see the difference in pictures. Trust me, I've done the legwork. I've shown up in like really, you know, natural makeup, and I look like I look like a ghost next to everybody else. It looks good in person, obviously more natural makeup, but in pictures, it just is not a good idea. I mean, you're gonna see the difference. With full coverage, everything just is perfected and flawless. It just looks much, much better in pictures. Personally, I've gotten some of my best, especially iPhone pictures with the flash, with a full coverage look, so. Okay, so now we have a nice brightened up, super covered center of the face. Now we're gonna move on to contouring. So ever since I discovered this product, I've kind of been like reaching for it every time I need to do like an intense contour. This is that Milani foundation I used in my affordable makeup tutorial, which was my last makeup tutorial. I really actually miss using foundation as a contour product. I used to do it so much, like way back. And then obviously like the sticks came out and like other contouring palettes, things like that came out. But I really liked this. I like it because, you know, the liquid formula really lets you blend out really nicely. So I'm just gonna pump a little on the back of my hand, and obviously much deeper shade than my complexion. Color I'm using is Spiced Almond. Yeah, Spiced Almond. So with this, I'm gonna dot this into my contour areas. A little bit goes a long way, so especially since it is liquid, it's gonna spread much more easily. Just a really light nose contour. And then using that same brush that I used for my all over foundation, I'm gonna start to blend that out. And of course, blend up. Don't blend too far below your the hollow of your cheek. And then of course you can add more if you think it's not enough, if you're not chiseled enough. And for me, I don't have a big forehead. I have a pretty average size forehead. So, but I do have a wide face. So I just put them on the sides. I never put it at the top of my hairline, just so I get that illusion of like a narrower forehead. So I like this, but I think I do want to add a little more to my cheeks. Yeah. Since my face is a little fuller now, 20 pounds later. But now we have this nice airbrush perfect base. Speaking of airbrush, for my powder, I'm gonna use the Airbrush Flawless Filter. Is that what it's called? Airbrush Flawless Finish. Airbrush Flawless Finish by Charlotte Tilbury. I'm gonna take this little sponge by Hank and Henry. And actually I have a little small mirror, just do it this. I'm going to just get into the very inner part under my eyes, because I tend to crease right here, and then also just so we're not greasy at any point here. This is by far one of the best setting powders out there. You want to talk about perfecting? Every pore is like filled in. It just looks really nice and perfect. Why am I so dry around my nose? Okay, so now to bring a little life to this look, I'm gonna add a cheek color. The Bounce and Blur from Bare Minerals is a really nice powder blush. The color I'm using is Coral Cloud. So I'm just going to use a very fluffy brush. Never use a dense brush to do blush, no matter what kind of look you're doing, because you just don't want to deposit too much color. You can keep going back a couple of times and add more, but once you get that one streak of blush, it's going to be really hard to blend it out. So a brush like this is going to be kind of the perfect choice for blush application. Because see, look how many times I applied and look how soft it still is. So you see, in soft circular motions, just keep adding until you feel like you have the right amount. So now moving on to highlight. So for a full coverage look, I don't like, even though it's gonna look, everything's gonna look matte up until this stage, I wanna add a little more dimension, a little more, you know, that highlight, glow, bronze. So this is gonna be 2 steps. I'm gonna add a lighter highlight to the high points of my face, and then I'm gonna do an all over bronzy highlight just to one, it's gonna warm up that lighter highlight when you add the bronze over it, and two, it's just gonna give the whole face a little bit more dimension. So to begin, I'm gonna use the Dual Finish Highlighter by Lancôme. This is called Sparkling Pêche. So this is just gonna go, like I said, high points of my cheek. Oh my God. Very strong highlight, very, very strong highlight, but perfect for a full coverage look. Like it layers over heavier makeup very nicely. Then one of my favorite products, the Cali Glow Highlighter from Persona Cosmetics. I'm using Del Mar, which is their bronzy shade. Obviously, depending on your complexion, if you're much deeper, this is gonna be an excellent highlight for you. For me, I use this as an all over veil. So one, I'm gonna go over those highlight areas. And two, I'm gonna just layer it all over my face. Like I said, for just like a light veil of that bronze tone. So one thing you should know about highlighter, if you don't already, you probably already noticed it, but personally, I'm someone who has a little bit of texture in my skin. I have these like little bumps. Not always, only when I'm not eating properly and not taking the best care of my skin. But if you have really noticeable texture, like a lot of breakouts, I would skip highlight or just do it very, very lightly because it's gonna accentuate that texture. It's gonna make it stand out more, obviously, because you're bringing light to it. So it's almost like there's a spotlight on that one area. So if you can dodge those areas or just go much lighter with your highlight, it's gonna look much better. So to finish off this base, you absolutely have to spray it. Whatever your spray of choice is, definitely, definitely spray. The one I'm using is the Photo Finish Setting Spray by Smashbox. And I kind of go a little heavy with the spray. My face is like completely wet because when it dries, it kind of gives it a little bit more of a dewy look. So it's gonna set the makeup, it's not gonna move, but it's also just gonna give everything a little bit of like because it got wet, it kind of just marries everything together. Everything kind of blends a little bit better together. Just give this a second to... So just so you guys could see the completed look, I threw on some lips, eyes, and brows. But when it comes to a full coverage look, this is my current routine. I hope this was useful to you guys. If you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. I'll see you in my next one.